What's going on, you guys? 80K checking in here, and I have a special guest for our second episode, Gruppo. He's going to introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about him. So, you mind introducing yourself to the people?
My pleasure. Yes, Coach Gruppo is what I go by. Michael's my government name. It's a long history. I've been in the coaching for a little over 20 years, and it started off with coaching football at a youth level when my kids all started coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Starting off back in the Pop Warner days,
nice.
back when my oldest son started playing. And as far as the fitness, though, like I've always been a gym rat.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I grew up in the gym from probably 12, 13 years old,
Yeah.
throughout junior high,
Yep.
going into high school, playing sports in high school,
There we
playing
go.
football, whatever. So fitness has always been a part of my life. But as far as getting into the coaching,
Yeah.
that really happened as I was coming up with my kids,
Yep.
kind of just learning together.
Yeah.
And it just kind of evolved from there, ups and downs throughout life, kind of sidetracked,
Yeah.
derailed the plan at times, but at the end of the day, all of the knowledge and wisdom I acquired over the years, that's what I share, that's
Yeah,
that's what I try to impart in these youth that I work with right now. And it's just about cultivating them into not just better athletes, but better men and women.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot, man. Funny, similar story. I've been in around it pretty much my whole life.
For sure. Yeah.
For me, as I was growing up, outside of being, disciplined physically, we would have to do push-ups, sit-ups, and all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of
But
course,
it really
of
did
course.
help.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? As I gotten older. But again, that becomes so part of your DNA.
Absolutely.
That I
Absolutely.
could definitely empathize with you when you saying like, you pretty much been doing it for a while. Because I've really been the same thing for me. So what, and this is something that I love this question because I don't answer it a lot. So outside of the fitness, what is something that people don't know about you? You know what I mean? We know you work out, we know you give back, we know you help the kids, but outside of fitness, like what are some things that people probably be interested in that you do?
Well, I mean, as far as things that I don't really share a lot on my business page is my
Yep.
personal life.
Gotcha.
I have a pretty big family.
Nice.
I have a wife. I have 5 kids,
Yep.
4 boys, a girl.
There we go.
My daughter, she's my oldest. She just turned 29, and also have a grandbaby. She just gave me my first
Nice.
granddaughter
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's dope.
So very large family, and then I also have 2 little nieces and nephews that we took in about 4 years ago that were
Okay,
legal
gotcha.
guardians of. So
Yeah.
technically, I have 7 kids.
Yeah, nice.
So definitely a family man. That's really what keeps me grounded.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's to take on that type of responsibility. You know what I mean?
For
Especially
sure.
from what we hear today, with a lot of men not being present. You know what I mean?
Right,
For whatever
right,
reason.
yeah.
Right? Just not being present. It seems like that was something important to you. I know when I'm working out and I'm in the gym, there's those days where it's like, this is my therapy, right? But that came from something else younger.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like what's something like that for you outside of just moving heavy weight? What's, something heavy that you struggle with that help, you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
help you
yeah, for sure, for sure. Just from my background,
Yeah.
coming from not the best environment and
Yep.
situation growing up as a youth,
Yeah.
fitness definitely became my therapy and my
Gotcha.
outlet. If it weren't for fitness, there's no doubt I would not have the discipline that I have in my life now.
Gotcha.
That's what cultivated the discipline. You know what I mean? Aside from that, growing up, I grew up with very little structure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Family broke, mother and father broke up at a very
Gotcha.
young
Yeah.
age. Coming from a broken home, very misguided, getting kind of caught up in the street stuff when I
Yep.
was, a teenager, through my early adulthood,
Yep.
just never had that structure. And it was fitness that really gave me that sense of discipline.
Gotcha.
It gave me
Yeah.
the sense of structure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
man.
it saved my life, and not in a sense, it like truly did save my
Wow.
life, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us have that same story. I just imagine life without being able to work out, right?
Right.
And listen, I can give you examples. A lot of people turn to drugs, alcohol,
Right.
Sex addiction,
Yep.
robbery, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Even murder, you know
For
what I
sure.
mean? But
For sure.
people don't understand, and working in the mental health field as I worked in for a while,
Right.
a lot of coping skills
Yeah.
that worked were physical slash gym related.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think
Absolutely.
it's amazing that people talk about, oh, well, take this, or I'm on this, or I'm on that pill. But I'm like, yeah, but you've been on that for 10 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like at
Right.
some point, you know. But I think what the public want to hide from us is the gym is the fountain of youth, one.
Oh
but
my
it's
gosh.
also your,
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the pill.
Absolutely. That is the pill. That's
Yeah.
the pill that they've been trying to sell us for the last, how many decades?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was just thinking of something as you mentioned it. You know, we just found out that the whole pyramid, the food pyramid, was upside down.
Upside down.
So that's
yeah.
one of the biggest scams ever.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
and
for
which
sure,
led
for sure.
to and again, but what can help you break out? The gym.
Yeah.
What's
for
going to
sure.
help you through that, right? You didn't
Yeah.
gained all that weight from the gym, so the gym is really a place, and I'm glad because I can relate to you a lot on a lot of different levels in terms of just to grow up, and the parents breaking whatever the case may be,
For
but
sure.
really finding that discipline through fitness and
through
gym.
fitness.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you a serious question. Like, what is something that you can remember that almost broke you? That you're like, oh man, like I don't, and it could be anything from when you were
Yeah.
a child to when you were older, but what was really something that you look back on, like, yeah, that almost got me?
I can give several examples. So I just turned 50 years old last month. Okay.
Okay.
So
Well, happy
over
belated birthday.
Thank you, brother.
You look good for your
I
age, man.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
Again, fitness is a fountain of youth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Absolutely.
yep.
But I can tell you, man, over the last, over the course of my life, there's been several ups and downs. There's been several moments where, situations have happened, whether it be brought about myself or outside circumstances, that have brought me to a breaking point where I've hit rock bottom more than one time. There's been more than one point where I had to really pull myself up, and literally, reinvent myself on a couple occasions.
Yep. Absolutely.
One of the ones I could say for sure, pretty recently, as a matter of fact, may call it a midlife crisis, perhaps.
Yeah.
When I first started this business back in 2020 during COVID, I think it grew too fast, and I wasn't ready for that level of success yet, and it got to my head.
Yep.
I became very ego-driven.
Yeah.
I became very ego-driven. I was bringing a lot of attention to myself, and was really not disciplined mentally, and allowing distractions to definitely take me off track.
Wow.
And it led me to a place where I wasn't being a good husband, a good provider, just using my clout in the wrong way.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got to the point about 4 years ago where, I could have potentially destroyed my family,
Yeah.
we were on the brinks of divorce, and, I had to take a step back for a while.
Yeah. Wow.
And really just look inward.
Yep.
And really just not just reinvent myself, but at that point, that was a turning point where I realized I can't just say I want to become a better version of myself.
Yeah.
That older version had to die.
Oh,
He had to be put to rest.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
like that.
That previous self, it served its purpose for the first maybe 30 years of my adult life, but it was no longer serving me well.
Wow. You know what's crazy? I literally was going to ask you about
Yeah.
that old version. You said, I was going to ask what'd you do with it? And you had to put it to rest.
Had
And
to
I
put it
think
to
that
rest.
is, from a maturity standpoint, it take a real man,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, to talk like a real man.
For
Because
sure.
we can imitate it,
Yeah.
but can you really, you know what I mean,
Right.
walk and talk like that individual? And sometimes you have to go through rock bottom
Yeah.
to become, that's our shedding, to become
sure,
a man. And
for
that's,
sure.
and I just imagine, like, okay, so you were able to reinvent that, but where do you think you would have been if you had to reinvent yourself, but you got success from somewhere else, not the fitness? Therefore, you couldn't go back and say 12 o'clock at night workout because I'm stressed out. Because some people turn to the bottle, like I said
Right,
before.
right.
But the fact that you know where to go, let's talk about the recovery part about that. How were you able to get back on your feet, lock in, and now be more mature about, where you are in your success?
Yeah, for sure. So during that time, it wasn't just, that caused me to have to take a step back. There was some physical things going on with
Gotcha.
my health at the
Yep.
time as
Oh, yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that forced me to have to sit
gotcha.
down,
Gotcha.
injuries,
Yep.
chronic injuries
Yeah.
over the years, all the
Yeah.
wear and tear from all the, heavy lifting, from bodybuilding, powerlifting,
Yeah.
just all the stuff I did as a youth. I had to get a few surgeries over the years. I had to get 2 hip replacements last year, knee surgery the year before that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had to sit it out for a while.
you didn't have a choice.
I had no choice.
Gotcha.
But I think I needed that.
Yeah.
That was what I needed. I needed something to humble me.
Gotcha. Yep.
And sometimes when we're, blinded by our own ego, and it's overtaken us,
Yep.
and we're not capable of pulling ourselves out from that, sometimes it takes an event like
Yeah.
that to
Yeah.
humble us.
Yeah.
It has to be an external factor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 So, how would you say the gym changed your mindset? Just in general, not just in that situation, but just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, I mean, the way it changed my mindset was from just, again, coming up with very little structure as a youth. It gave me that system of structure and developing that, mental discipline, where it was not about just, living for the moment. It was about actually, living based on building systems and processes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
To get to where you want to go. So it was I became very process oriented,
Yeah.
where when I was younger, I didn't even know what that word meant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, here's a good question. What did discipline teach you that life didn't? Which is, it's a good question. Very good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Discipline, what that taught me is discipline is really the element that is needed in order to break through to that next barrier. You know what I mean?
I know, I hear you.
I feel like, as we're growing and maturing, we still have a lot of limitations that are set upon ourselves through just the way our subconscious mind has been, built over the years from our upbringing, things that our parents did, things that teachers told us, whatever, circumstances, things like that. And it always creates that mental ceiling. We can get to a point to where we feel we're locked in, but we always seem to struggle to rise above a certain point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It's one of those things where without the mental discipline, you don't even really acknowledge that ceiling exists. So you kind of just get stuck in this loop. Where you're repeating the same patterns.
They call it insanity.
Insanity, yeah, for sure.
You're 100% right. And I mean, just think of, because I know you can relate to this. I mean, you've talked about, off the interview, but we talked about you doing shows and, your boys doing shows.
For sure.
What do you think if you weren't disciplined, and let's just be like, and I'm just, because I'm thinking about the question to myself, how
for sure.
important
Right.
discipline is in a man's life.
Right.
I can't talk, from a woman's, but from a man.
For sure.
I think that's my superpower. I don't know about you.
No doubt.
But I think being
doubt.
disciplined is a superpower because it allowed me to control things that most people have no reach on.
I agree,
How do you get up
100%.
5 in the morning?
Yes.
How are you dieting?
Yes.
How do you take care of the family? How are you
Yes.
da-da-da-da? How do you not, you get all this attention?
For sure.
Why are you not, you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
So if we remove discipline from your life, where you think you would be?
Dead or in prison, honestly.
I mean,
it'd be one or the other.
Yeah.
It'd be one or the other. Coming from my background, obviously it would be one or the other.
Yeah.
Discipline, is what saved me from going down that path.
Yeah.
And even though I've had my ups and downs over the years, it was always that discipline that always reeled me back when I was kind of drifting astray.
Nice, man.
But without that, no, I would have been destined for prison or
Gotcha.
the cemetery.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's, I want to dive into this next topic, which is your faith, right?
Sure.
When and where did your faith enter into your life, into your story? Like, when did you find God?
Yeah, for sure. God was introduced to me as a child.
Gotcha.
But I can't say that's where I found God, because
Oh, talk about
sometimes
it.
when you're
Yeah.
when you're growing up, you know, the religious beliefs and everything are just kind of passed on, customary through, you know, it's tradition is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yep.
Your parents are passing down what they learned and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily make it your own. That's
Yeah.
not what's going to cause you to develop that personal relationship with God.
Exactly.
You're kind of just going through the motions to pacify your parents so you don't get your ass whooped, you know. And that's
You're
kind
right.
of what it boils
Yeah,
down to,
that's
you know.
real. No, you're absolutely right.
And that's what, and I'll be honest, you know, as a kid, that's what it was for
Yeah.
me, you know. So it took me to, you know, where I was going through a situation right before I moved out here.
Yep.
I moved out here in 1996.
Gotcha.
I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Oh, I'm from Long Island. My
Oh
wife's from
man,
Syracuse.
no doubt. Okay,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, I can hear the accent, so I kind of figured that much.
Yeah.
You know, after I graduated from high school, I attempted to go to college, you know, but I wasn't ready for it at the time. I went
Yep.
down to North Carolina. I was living in Charlotte,
Yep.
and that's where I got caught up in, or first really deep into dealing drugs.
Gotcha.
You know, and it was at that point where, you know, that's where I found God. You know, when it came to the point where going to prison was inevitable, you know, I knew you know, things were getting hot. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yep.
For sure. And then, sure enough, within 30 days of me moving out here, my partner, he gets arrested
Gotcha.
and ended up sitting down for 4 years.
Wow.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's where I first really developed that personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
Was at that point where I stepped away and left that life behind.
Yep.
You know, because I was at that crossroad.
Yeah.
I seen what the outcome was going to be. I had that foresight to be able to predict what that next step was going to be. That was inevitable, and it was coming quickly. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I was
yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment where I had to just submit and let it go and submit to God and
Yeah.
just give myself over to Him. You know.
No, but like, that's humbling because, yeah, I mean, just being a little bit transparent, you know, growing up in New York, seeing a lot of, I grew up seeing things I shouldn't have seen.
Right.
I grew up
Right.
seeing the drug dealing, you know what I mean? I
Yep.
seen the alcoholics, the winos.
Yep.
I seen the money that the drugs get.
Yes.
And now when you're little,
Yes.
a stack of money looks like a lot to
It
you.
looks like a
You know
lot.
what I mean? And just that's what we see. So
Yes.
of course you're gonna want to be like that.
Right.
You know, finding God through, you know, really through going through hell. You know what I mean? Because I know for me, I can say that like
Yeah.
I had the luxury and I found God in college.
Okay,
I didn't
okay.
find God in college. I became a believer.
Gotcha.
Like we
yeah.
said, we grew up. Man, I remember getting kicked out because I was so bad at Sunday school.
Right.
But we grew up it was in the culture, like
Yeah,
you said that. So
exactly,
I
yes.
understand what you mean
Right.
by being it. But just because it was it doesn't mean we could, you know, we weren't in it. That was
Right.
their conviction.
Right,
It wasn't ours.
exactly.
We were just going through it because we had no
Yeah,
choice.
exactly.
But till later on in life where you're like, listen, you know, I've done a lot of bad things. I hurt a lot of people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This can't be life, God. There's
Yeah.
got to be more to life.
For sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? So finding him as an adult, having that relationship.
Yeah.
Like I said, because people know of God, but if you know him,
Right.
you know what I mean?
That's-
a lot of things have changed.
Yeah, that
so,
personal relationship.
you know, with that being said,
For sure.
here's a good question, man.
Okay,
and
yeah.
this is one that I think gonna make you think a little bit because it's gonna push the envelope.
Yeah, yeah.
What did faith give you that discipline couldn't?
You know, they say faith is a belief in something that's unseen, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it did for me.
Yeah.
The discipline is great as far as giving you that structure, but
Yep.
sometimes discipline isn't enough. It has to be backed by faith.
There we go.
It has to be backed by faith in order to materialize into something great.
Yep.
Because otherwise, you know, you can still, even with discipline, limit yourself.
Yeah.
You know, just based on, you know, your subconscious mind that's evolved over the years, that's been placing limits on you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But with faith, that's the fuel that you know, behind that discipline
Yep.
will give you, you know, again, that vision of and just the belief in the things that you know are attainable, but
Yeah.
you don't quite see them yet.
Yep. That's right.
But you know they're attainable.
Yeah, yeah. And when I asked that question, just in my mind, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so for me, you know, someone that used discipline to his advantage
Right.
as a superpower, because I said, I'm not, you know, being in school, being in special ed, feeling like you weren't worthy of even going to college.
Yeah, for sure.
I said, what do I have control over that's going to get me there?
Yeah, yeah.
And when I realized that I was more disciplined than most people, and then I realized what you can
Right.
achieve through that.
Yep.
But then when you are disciplined,
Right.
and you have a goal that you have not achieved and can't see,
Yes.
that's where that faith comes
That's
in.
where
So you hit it straight on the nail.
Yeah.
I mean, it allows us to close the gap.
It does.
I would say faith
Oh,
allows
yeah.
us to close the
Definitely
gap.
close the gap.
You know,
That's a perfect way to put it.
and
Yeah.
I think you need both.
You do it.
You need both.
They're intertwined. They go hand in hand,
Yeah,
for sure. You know what I
100%.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, we talk about, God creating not only did he have structure,
Right.
but, he had, obviously he's the creator.
Yes.
But again, he created, earth in 7 days, created man, man fell.
Yes.
He had faith in us.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
yes.
just being able to be the example to us is amazing to see that, because in our
Absolutely.
own life, it's like, Larry, listen, you're younger. I want, this for my family, this, that, when I get older, whatever. But not seeing it growing up, it's like, how do we get there? I don't got an uncle with a handout.
Exactly.
I don't got nobody. I got to believe and have the
Yeah.
faith. I just wanted to get out the hood. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just got to get out the situation.
For sure.
Right? And I stayed
Right.
locked in.
Yep.
But when I tapped into my faith, it took me to another level.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
So I definitely like that response. I
Man,
think that's
thank
and that's
you.
the first time we asked that question, but it's a big one, and I think we need to dive into that at another time.
Yeah, well, for
because
sure.
I think it can really
Absolutely,
help
yeah.
a lot of men unlock their true potential. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean?
absolutely.
So, I mean, hey man, let's just dive into the brand.
Yes.
What Gruppo? Where did it come from? How was it birthed? What does it stand for?
Well,
Tell us a little bit about it.
That's my last name.
There we go.
That's my last name.
Yep.
So it was like the obvious choice in creating the brand.
Nice.
My last name is obviously pretty unique.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
You don't really see
No,
many
you're the first.
people with my last
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
especially here in Arizona.
Oh,
You
you
go
ain't-
back in New York,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a few of us out
Yeah,
there. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
but here, yeah,
it's
no.
Italian.
Yep.
My grandfather was born in Italy.
Yep.
Well, actually, no, I take that back. He was the first American born that came over. He has older siblings that were born
Got you.
in Italy. So
Got you.
when they immigrated over, he was like
Yeah.
the first born on American
Ah,
soil.
got you.
So it's definitely the Italian roots.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where the name came from.
Nice.
And really, Gruppo's strength is just it's a very family-oriented business. That's been like
Yep.
the foundation of and just the backbone of what we stand for.
Got you.
Regardless of what demographic we're trying to help, whether it's the working class adult that's trying to get into shape, or whether it's a student athlete that's trying to elevate his or her game. It's a family-based structure that we have, and that's the mindset that we have when we deal with our people, man.
you.
It's like we're bringing you into the family, is what it really is.
Got you.
You know?
And I mean, let's just elaborate on that. Most boys / men join gangs to be a part of something,
yeah.
to be a part of a family.
Exactly.
So the fact that you're being able to give some people in your area that,
Yeah.
who knows who you saved? You get what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
could have saved somebody from joining something to end their life, or
For
doing
sure.
something stupid and ended up in prison.
Oh, absolutely.
So I always harp on, like, we need to create more community driven, family-oriented type things that you're doing.
Yes.
Because our kids, I mean, listen, that's why everybody in the hood want to grow up to be a drug dealer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To grow up, when they see gangs, they see a group.
That
And
is.
what they don't realize is it's not just because it looks like family.
Right.
It isn't always family.
Right.
You know what I
True.
mean? And unfortunately, a lot of them don't make it out of our lifestyle.
Right.
And
Many
then they
don't.
never
Many
even get
don't,
to
yeah.
touch life.
Right,
You get what I'm
for
saying?
sure,
So
for
I
sure.
definitely respect that, man. I think that's dope. I think, you reaching out and stepping on faith and doing something like this is incredible, because most men, if we're being honest,
Mm-hmm.
most men are STEM oriented. You know
For
what I
sure,
mean?
yeah,
They
for
like the
sure.
math, the engineering, all of that. They
Right,
don't
right, right.
really, they're not, it's the women that's, the human service field. Not a lot
Right,
of men.
they're
What you're
more the
doing,
nurturing
exactly.
type. Yeah,
What you're
for
doing is
sure.
considered more, and that's peculiar to what most men are comfortable with. Not my
Absolutely.
problem. I'm behind the desk.
Right,
or I'm
right,
doing
right.
this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
right.
it's and I respect that, because it's not easy. It's the level
Thank
of
you, man.
accountability,
Appreciate it.
respect,
Yeah.
and just people looking up to you. That's pressure. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And a lot of people crack under pressure because they ain't built like that.
Right.
People
Right.
like the idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
don't really. You know
But
what
when
I mean?
the pressure's not, how are you going to react? That's
Exactly.
when your true character gets
Yeah.
revealed, man, for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
So what values are non-negotiable in your community?
With me, man, integrity is like number one.
Got you.
You know what I mean? what kind of person are you when people aren't looking?
There
You
we
know what I
go.
mean? That's your true identity right
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
It's all about integrity.
Yeah.
You can get on this camera right now and talk a good game. You know what I mean? You can sell anybody on your product or service or whatever, man. But behind closed doors, if your lifestyle doesn't reflect that, it's going to come out eventually.
get exposed.
People are going to see through. People can see through that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
You know, so your career ain't going to last long.
No.
So I think integrity to me is key.
Gotcha.
That to me is key.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I agree. I think integrity is everything. You know, because it leads to transparency.
Absolutely.
It leads to who you're really around.
Absolutely.
And what they're there for.
For sure.
You know, because unfortunately in today's society, it's hard to find that old school street code.
Thank
and what I
you.
mean
Oh,
by that
man.
is just like
Yes.
it's unfortunate, man,
Yes.
because if people don't understand how important that is to have, especially as men.
Absolutely.
You know, it's sad to go
Yeah.
around a bunch of men that are sheep.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Just led astray.
Like,
just,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
for
You're
sure.
just
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because these kids need to see like real role models.
Absolutely.
That stand on business.
Absolutely.
Back in New York, we had the Italian mafia and all of that.
Yep.
There
Yep.
was a street code
Absolutely.
that even, you don't disrespect, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Don't do it around the kids. Now it's just like we lost the essence of that. But I do
Exactly.
believe there's still pillars in the community
There
like
are.
yourself
There are.
that are still,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, keeping that around. So
Exactly.
I think that's dope. So yeah, let's pivot into some some leadership.
Okay.
When you think of leadership, what does that mean and look like for you? Like, what do you think when I hear, okay, leadership? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, leadership to me is all by. I mean, I'm the old school, type that. Very, very simple. Lead
Yep.
by example.
Yeah.
Lead by example,
Yeah.
man. You got to walk the walk. You have to practice what you preach.
Absolutely.
Or it's not authentic. It's not genuine.
Yeah, yeah.
And although I'm older in age now, and I've had physical injuries, so I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago
Yeah.
when I was competing.
Yeah,
With an
yeah.
impressive physique. I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm still in shape, but I don't
Yeah.
look like I did.
Yeah.
I like to consider myself more of like the wise elder now.
Gotcha.
I'm like the
That's dope.
Yoda.
Yeah,
I'm like the Yoda in this
Yeah, yeah,
in
that's
this
cool.
industry now. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel as we mature and we grow and we evolve and we acquire knowledge and wisdom, it's our responsibility to pass that down.
Yes, I agree.
It's meant to be passed down.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not meant to be held
Yeah,
on to, and that's our
absolutely.
obligation as men
Yeah.
to pass it down.
Yeah.
That's how legacies are created.
Absolutely.
That's how legacies
Yeah,
are created.
yeah.
If you want this youth, if this current generation to do better, it's our part to impart that knowledge.
Exactly.
you
We have a role and responsibility.
We have a role in that respect.
Passing the torch.
We do. We have to pass the torch because otherwise, the influences that they're being subjected to,
Yep.
we know where that's going.
Absolutely.
We see where this world's
The
going.
end game, yep.
We see the end game.
Yep.
So it's up to us to change that path for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
again,
you're
it
right.
just comes to passing down the gift that's been given to us, or that we've cultivated, passing it down to them.
Yeah, you're right.
For sure.
So with that being said, how do you hold people accountable? You know what I mean? Especially because obviously, you deal with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
What's the accountability piece look like for somebody like you? Because it is a such thing as tough love. It is what it is.
It
but
is.
Some people
Yeah.
approach it differently. How do you hold your people accountable?
Yeah, first of all, you have to get over the fear of upsetting people.
Yeah.
You have to get over the fear of people not liking you.
Yeah.
And it's not our intent to not be likable.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you have to have that hard conversation.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do come across as being the bad guy.
Yep.
And I think for a lot of people, they're afraid to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Especially, the majority of the people in this industry, in the
Yeah.
fitness industry, these trainers, they, maybe they're afraid that that's going to sabotage their business if they
Yeah.
start pissing too many people off,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, you're not doing them any favor.
No.
You're not doing them any favor by telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
They're coming to you for help.
Exactly.
And sometimes the best way you can help a person is to make them be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
Not just you being honest with them, but telling them to look inward.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. We all have to look inward.
Absolutely.
That's the only way any of us can get better and make
Yeah.
changes in our life.
Yeah.
It has to start within.
Yeah.
We have to start by looking inward, and sometimes they need a person like you or I
Yeah.
to bring that to their attention.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy conversation.
No. I mean, listen, the fact of the matter is if you want to be liked, if you want everybody to be your friend,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is not for you.
It's not.
Right?
It's
Because I
not.
can tell you right now, if you're doing your job the right way, a lot of people will feel uncomfortable.
For sure.
But I can tell
For
you
sure.
this, they'll respect you.
Yeah.
And as men, you know
Yes.
this, I value respect over just about anything else.
For sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
You don't have to like me.
You don't have to like
but you will respect me.
Amen.
Period. You know what I
Amen,
mean? And I think
yes.
that goes a long way, especially for raising our kids, right? Back in the day, grandma can come out on the porch and say, stop fooling around, and everybody scatter out.
Right.
Today, these kids don't even,
They fear
you know what I
nothing.
mean?
They fear no
disrespect-
consequences.
and
Yeah, for sure.
Which is amazing because when they do the crime, they're crying. But
Yeah.
you had the energy you had prior to that didn't match.
You
Because you're
didn't match.
doing, you know what I mean?
It didn't match.
And so I mean,
For
and we
sure.
can get in that more because it's really crazy. But we know the kids, their brains aren't even there yet. That's why a lot of these guys will use these kids to do their hard work.
Exactly.
Now the
'Cause
kids-
it's so easy to manipulate.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep. So
for sure.
we're gonna transition into the youth. So what do you
Okay.
think's missing for young men today? What's
Well,
missing?
You know that there's a lot of things that are missing. You know, obviously it's more common in today's day and age to not have a man in the home.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the obvious factors that is hurting our youth now.
Yeah.
Is not having two parents in the home.
Yep.
I'm very old school. I
Yeah.
believe in that strong nuclear
Yeah,
family. I believe
absolutely.
that you know that sense of stability from having both parents in the home you can't put a price on
No.
that. You know, but we don't live. But I get it. You know, what I mean, that's not always going to be the case. So we
Yeah.
can't use that as an excuse.
Yep.
But you know, they don't. I also blame it on the technology.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of parents, even when the parents are there physically, they're not engaged with their kids the way
Yeah.
they were before the technology
yeah.
came along. They can have the iPad or the phone babysit the kids
Yeah.
now.
Oh, man,
you don't
you
need
talk
to, you
about
don't need to interact with your kids no more.
Yeah.
They can sit in their own room all
Yeah.
day
Yep.
and be fine. You don't hear a word out of them, man. They ain't bothering nothing.
Yep. Yeah.
Out of
You
sight,
almost
out of
forget
mind.
about it. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Out of sight,
Perfect.
out of mind.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main things,
Yeah.
man. So if you allow your kid to live like that, where they're just stuck back in a room 24/7
Yeah.
on this, we know the stuff that they're consuming by scrolling and
Yes.
everything. We see the content that's
Yep.
out there.
Absolutely.
What is that doing to their psyche? How is that shaping them as
Yeah.
young men? How
Absolutely.
is that shaping their view of the world?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And we expect them to adhere to traditional values and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they're being constantly bombarded
Yeah.
with all of this content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like as parents, we're fighting with them. We're fighting against the world
We literally
to get our
are.
kids. You know, it's like
We
tug of
literally
war,
are.
right?
It is a tug of war.
And you know, unfortunately, we can't be there 24/7.
Right.
And you're right. I think social media has done a disservice.
For sure.
There was just an incident where a father took the kid's game away,
Yeah.
and the kid shot and killed his father.
See?
This was recent.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, wait till you really realize what you've done.
Right.
You know?
Right.
This is not Call of Duty.
Exactly.
But again,
Yep.
you mentioned something else. We talk about fathers being present.
Right.
An interesting study that came out a couple years ago was the stats for single women raising kids.
Yeah.
And this is no shot to anybody. This is just stats.
It's statistics. Yeah.
Statistics. A large amount of dropouts, crime.
Yep.
So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I can name it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those kids come from single parent, more particularly mom households.
Absolutely.
And people may get offended by that, but if you look at what's a woman's responsibility, it's to love that child, it's to nurture that child.
Nurture.
Our responsibility is the structure.
The structure,
So that's why when you
discipline,
looked at
yeah.
the single father results, it was the same as a married couple.
Exactly.
Because they provided that structure.
Yes.
They provided that discipline.
Yes, yes.
So the nuclear family was targeted, we know, with the welfare and all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah.
the feminist movement.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the good thing is this. They can't stop us
Right.
from being who we want to be and being an example.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can probably influence the masses,
Right.
but we're making a loud noise.
Right.
We're the salt of the world.
Absolutely.
You know, we're the ones walking by faith, and we got God on our side.
For sure.
And that's why you see it didn't take over yet. You get what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So, what do you wish you knew at 15? If you can go back, what do you wish you knew at 15 years old?
Ooh, boy. Yeah, that's it, man. That's a great question.
Like, if there's one thing you can say, you know what, man, if I had,
At 15.
you know, I would, because that's kind of that going into high school.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, honestly, At 15, it would have just been a discipline and structure. If I would have known that at that time, if I would have just had a little bit better guidance,
Yeah.
a little bit better guidance, a little bit more structure and discipline in my life, I would have saved a lot of wasted years.
Got you.
I would have saved a lot of wasted years
Yeah.
going down the wrong path and having to learn through the school of hard knocks before I finally figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I
and
agree.
having to hit rock bottom multiple times
Yep.
before I finally, turned it around.
Got you.
So,
No, I agree 100%.
yeah.
The one thing I do at 15, something I would change is the people I entertained.
Oh God.
Knowing where I
For
was trying to
sure.
go,
No doubt.
I would have been around
doubt.
a lot
No
less
doubt.
people.
No
you
doubt.
know?
Oh yeah.
Because look, you look back and you're not. I mean, 98% of the people I knew
Yeah.
are like non-existent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I can vouch for that too. Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, I'll go with that one as well. That it didn't come to my mind as my first choice when you asked that question, but that was definitely important, man. Choosing my associations.
Yeah.
Choosing my associations.
Yep.
If I would have been more wise about that, because ultimately that's what led me down the path that I took. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that one wrong association
Yeah.
that influenced you in that one kind
Yep.
of way, or
Yeah.
introduced you to something that you didn't know yet.
Right.
That wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
that's
no, you're
that's
right.
all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it
yeah.
takes.
So what do you think, because a lot of this terminology is thrown around, gentle parenting
Right.
and all of that. And I mean, you and I have seen this where,
Right.
I mean, I've been in, this give me PTSD, as sad as it sounds.
Yeah.
When I'm in a grocery store and the kids yelling at their
Oh
like,
my God.
I just get PTSD because when I was
yes.
little, my head would be,
Oh man.
you wouldn't even think to
It'd
do
be
that.
bouncing off the floor like
You know
a
what I mean?
basketball. Seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
So so with the way people, I mean, because we have kids having kids,
Right.
And then the approach,
Yep.
you know what I mean, and then us fighting against trying to control.
For sure.
How do you think? What's something you can tell parents that could help them with just really being more? Because we talked about the tablet babysitting, so
Right.
you're not really engaging with
Right,
your child.
right.
But then you're consequencing them as if you engage when
Yep.
they've been doing this the whole time. You just didn't know. What was something you would tell some parents today that believe in the gentle parenting, that
Man.
believe, I didn't have it, let the kids be kids. You've heard that before, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
What do you think about that? What would you tell
Man,
them?
Stop trying to be their friend. Stop making that your priority. Stop trying to be so agreeable with your children.
yeah.
Stop being afraid to tell them no.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. A lot of parents, they're afraid to tell their own kids no nowadays. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's a big thing too.
Got you,
You know? And it's like, we all love our kids. We all want our kids to have better than we had growing up. And that's, I mean, we'd be wrong not to think that way. So we want them to have nice things.
Yeah.
But we got to be really careful about that too, because that self-entitlement mentality is like prevalent in this day and age right
Yeah,
now.
you're right.
And
Yep.
it's really easy for a child to develop that mindset if we're not careful about it. You know, unwarranted praise, undeserved, rewards and things like
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
we got to do better, man.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think a lot of parents buy their kids whatever they want because I think there's this guilt of maybe I'm not that involved. I feel bad. You get what I'm saying?
I got to overcompensate
exactly.
by doing
I'm
this now.
overcompensating,
Monetary
exactly.
gifts and
Yes,
stuff,
you know what I
material
mean?
gifts and stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, man, because you look back and your kid has missed so much, and then you ask them like memories with your parent,
Right.
mother, and they don't
Right.
really have good
They
ones.
don't.
You
They
know,
don't.
and that's sad.
Yeah, it
'Cause
is.
back in the day, it didn't used to be that way.
No, not
we
at
had
all.
cookouts
Not
and
at
all that.
Oh yeah, we can describe actual experiences that we had with our parents.
yeah.
Actual memories. Now
Yeah.
it's just things that my parents bought me.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
yeah.
I remember when they bought me this,
Yeah.
this iPad or
Yeah.
or this phone
That's
or whatever.
unfortunate, man.
Yeah, that's what it's come down to.
So what's next for the brand? What do you got going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Gruppo Strength, we said there over the last couple months, toward the end of 2025,
Yeah.
that we were coming into 2026, building momentum for a big 2026, a big year.
Nice.
And we are definitely intending to deliver on that promise.
go,
So,
man.
some of the things we got coming up, a lot of community outreach type events, reaching out to the community to offer services to the youth, and one of those events is coming up next Sunday
right,
that I'm
that's right.
so
Yes,
excited to
sir.
be a part
Yes,
of,
sir.
man. I get to collaborate with my man over
Yeah.
here and some other amazing coaches.
Yep.
I just, that's what really drew me to you, man. When I seen what you
Yeah.
were doing, I'm like, I got to reach out to this
that's
guy,
dope.
man.
I
Because,
appreciate that.
like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I could see, like, you're kind of taking that same lane that I've been taking for the last, year that I've been
Got
really
you.
hitting this
Yep.
thing hard, man.
Nice.
And it just made sense.
Yeah, man.
So it really, I mean, this year is all about collaboration for me, man. I'm just totally willing to, be a part of anything that's going to better the youth with the right people,
Gotcha. Yep.
with like-minded people.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hosting more boot camps.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with you next
Yes, sir.
weekend. The weekend
Yep.
after that, I'm hosting another boot camp for a youth football
Nice.
organization.
Perfect.
They're 12 and 13U,
Okay. Yep.
doing a strength and conditioning camp
Nice,
for them
man.
on
Yeah.
the 31st. So
Gotcha.
that's coming up, very soon as well. And there'll be more of that as
Yep.
well. But above and beyond that, where I'm really looking to take Gruppo Strength to the next level is, I'm trying to expand my reach to more people.
Yeah.
So with that being said, in person, we're very limited on time and space,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
So this year, I'm really emphasizing a lot more, putting a lot more energy into developing more of an online coaching
Online
platform.
presence,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna definitely be pushing out more of an online presence. And as we speak right
Yeah.
now, I have a partner of mine that's behind the scenes working on an app for me.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
really?
the next thing coming
That's
out.
dope, man.
Yeah, we're looking to launch that in the next 90 days.
Nice.
So when we start off, when we first launch the app, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Just basically, just a platform to coach our clients.
Yep.
Giving them their workouts, their meal plans, doing our check-ins and
Nice.
everything else like that. But from there, I got to kind of keep it close to the chest. I can't divulge too much.
I hear
I
that.
can't
Yeah,
leak
yeah.
my energy
No, no.
and give too many details.
Yep.
But let's just say that the next phase of this app is going to change the whole way that high school programs are going to help their student athletes get seen by
Yeah.
college
Gotcha.
recruiters.
That's dope.
It's going to be
Nice.
it's going to be huge. It's going to change the
Yep.
game. It's basically going to be a portal, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you said a lot, man. And I mean, what you're doing, I mean, you giving me ideas. That's incredible. And I pray that that launches off, that it's successful.
Thank you, man.
And it
Appreciate
will,
it.
man.
Yeah,
You got
for
good
sure.
intentions.
For
My
sure.
last question to you is,
Yes.
if someone feels lost or behind in life, what's the first step they should take today? Like,
Hey,
if
first
they're
thing that you need to do today is you need to stop everything, forget everything you've learned, and take a look inward and just have a very honest evaluation of your thoughts that are sitting in your mind, that have been sitting in your mind. And then just having an understanding as to how those thoughts even took root, I mean, where do they originate from? And we're going to find that a lot of these were of no fault of our own,
Yeah.
A lot of this was instilled in us,
Yeah.
through life, through our upbringing, things like that. This is what shaped us,
Yeah.
and until you can have that uncomfortable realization and just be that moment of honesty with yourself
Yeah.
and just recognizing these thoughts that have not served you well
Yeah.
and doing something about it, uprooting them, removing them, and
Yeah.
replacing them completely,
Yeah.
rewiring your mind.
Nice.
If you don't do that, you, regardless of the efforts that you put into bettering yourself, you're still going to be stuck in that loop. You're still going to repeat the same patterns.
Yeah.
You're still going to limit yourself
Yep.
due to this invisible ceiling that's always been there.
Gotcha.
And it's no fault of your own a lot of times, I get it, but it's your responsibility
I like it.
as an adult,
Absolutely.
as a man or woman,
Yep.
to change
Yeah,
that.
I like that.
It really
no,
is.
Hey, man, so obviously it was a pleasure, man.
Likewise.
We're going to have you on some point in the future again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, man.
I just think you have so much to offer to the community
Thank
and
you.
the population we serve.
Thank you.
But before we wrap this up,
Yeah.
just a quick update, guys. January 25th, our boot camp, One Track Mind, is going to be launched, and it is going down. And we invite you to come out and support our kids, because again, this is all about them. We want them to feel not only valued, but special. We want them to know that we are there for them and that they are winners. Also, we are inviting the public out to pull up to support the kids. We're more than happy to have you guys out to really help us get these kids going and put power back into them. I want them to feel like the LeBron James on the court. I want them
I
to
love
know
it.
that we
Yeah.
care and that they're special
For sure.
and that we're going to invest in them with the professionals we have around them. But before we wrap this thing up like a gift, how could they find you? Where, how, when? What's your social media?
I'm
you
easy
know?
to find, man. You know, I have a very distinct name, Gruppo Strength. That's it. You know, look up on Instagram, Gruppo Strength on Instagram, TikTok, Coach Gruppo. And then you can also find my website, gruppostrength.com. Those are the 3 platforms. Easy, very easy to find.
You heard it. We out. Dios te bendiga.
Yes, sir.
Good job, man.
All right,
I
my man.
appreciate you, my
Of
guy.
course, my
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure.